Hello, and welcome back to Victoria 3. I just spent the last 10 minutes or so kind of going through all of our new territories, as well as some of our colonial territory, and even some of our original territory, fleshing out the build orders to make sure people in all these states have something to do other than subsistence farms. You can see we have a 10-page construction queue. It's going to take quite a while to get through. I would like to expand my construction industry at some point. We could probably afford to do it right now, but I guess that, yeah, I feel like this feels closer than this bar suggests. Like, we're like over a third of the way through. Or no, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not. I'm dumb. We're almost a third of the way through. This looks like we're like not even a quarter of the way through. This is like 20%. So I don't think that bar is right. Anyway, yeah, we have this war over here going on with a colonial uprising from Fang. And we have an election coming up. Our stupid president, Daniel Webster, had the audacity to die just like 2 months before the election. He was so unpopular that he was holding down the votes for the Democratic Party. And now that he's gone, people are voting their conscience. And I don't like their conscience. I want them to vote for the other parties. Specifically, ideally, I mean, really, the industrialists, I think, are going to be like my main partners for the majority of this campaign. So I would like for them to go for that for now. I really want a professional army. That's like the main thing I want. And we're working on restricted child labor. We should get that hopefully on the very next tick. Why don't we go ahead and unpause? In California, you might have seen when I pulled up the build queue, I'm queuing 9 gold mines here. I don't really know what the like ideal strategy with gold mines is in this game. My philosophy in my Brazil game was just to max out every gold mine in your land, and that seemed to work very well. So until I see a reason not to do that, I'm gonna do that. Let them celebrate. We've had this event plenty of times now. City of Plenty. Wow, our legitimacy is very low. Why is it so low? Just from the size of government? The problem is I can't reform because you're still unhappy with me. What is wrong with you? Oh, actually, I can. Wait, why can't I? You're unhappy. Oh, but maybe you have to just be above -10 and not. I thought you had to be above -5. Well, okay. In that case, why don't we bring in the industrialists? Possibly even... Well, no, you're too big. Let's see. As far as policies, I would like to... You oppose professional army. You probably are neutral on it, I would think. You probably like don't even have an opinion on it. Yeah, so I'm gonna bring in the Whigs for now. That'll rapidly or vastly, whatever adjective you want to use, increase our legitimacy here. Also, we haven't looked at our new president. I meant to look at the guy who was president. Maybe you did replace Daniel Webster, because Daniel Webster was part of the petite bourgeoisie, but I thought someone else replaced him. Maybe not. Alright, well, we have President Sylvester McComas. I have never heard this name in my life. Not the whole name. Obviously, this is not a real person, as far as I know. But the last name McComas is not a name I've ever heard from anyone. Interesting. He's from the South. He's 24. He was the imperious upstart, the young haughty upstart, instead of the popular but inept candidate, because I didn't want the popular guy to like draw so many votes, but it didn't matter. He's imperious, which reduces his popularity, which is good for me. But there's only 4 years. I think these are 2 separate modifiers. I don't think this is going to go away, but I do think this is going to go away. You're only 24. This man is, like, bald and gray-haired at 24. And then also, 11 years before you are legally allowed to be president of the United States, according to the Constitution. He's a reformer. That's interesting. He's neutral on multiculturalism. He endorses property women. I suppose the petite bourgeoisie are not necessarily like the most conservative group. That would be more like the Southern Planters and Evangelical. Yeah, you're a slaver. John Calhoun is still alive? I thought you had to like resign in shame. Or maybe we covered it up because I didn't want you to be popular. And you're a jingoist. honestly, I could use some jingoism to help me get this damn professional army pass. But anyway, why don't we go ahead and unpause? We can support more declared interests, apparently. That's somewhat surprising to me, because we got Indonesia last time. I think, why don't we go ahead and start reclaiming our South American interests here. And then, unproductive trade routes for opium. Sure. And I think we're working on these. At the very least, yeah, we're not, we kind of are working on DC. Let's give you a railway, too. Inefficient agriculture. The industrialists have started complaining about the existence of subsistence farms in New Hampshire. Sorry, I kind of felt like I just like stating that their undeniable inefficiency should be immediately addressed. I agree. We should follow their advice. By the way, I finally looked up. I believe if I complete the Manifest Destiny journal entry here, maybe both of them, then these states will become. They will get the homelands that match my homelands over here, so they will only take 2 years to incorporate instead of 20 years. So we're going to wait until we do that. But to do that, we have to get Utah and Colorado from the Mexicans. A peace deal has been proposed. Ooh. Wow, we really tore through them over here. You have proposed us annexing you. Yeah, I accept. Now that is a colony. And we might as well start here to just try to fully block off as much of this coast as possible. And you're not a decentralized nation. You're an unrecognized power. So we're colonizing down here. This is going to take forever. But Kenya's still going super fast. I don't understand it. I think it's a bug or something. But I'm not going to complain for now. You are being colonized by the Netherlands and Denmark. So I will let you guys fight over the Niger Delta. Although I would love to get Sokoto into my market. Maybe. Do you produce rubber later in the game? I actually don't know. I assume you do. But our infamy is much too high to try to puppet you right now. And I don't want to conquer you. I don't think. Yeah, probably not. But we'll see. I think after I get this area, my move is going to be here and maybe down. I just want to like block off all the European powers. If I can like encircle Central Africa, then none of them should come through here. But as long as like Portugal or anyone who comes in down this way, theoretically could work their way up. Now we haven't really looked at Zulu since we conquered them. You have a truce with Canada. Oh, because you were involved in that war, technically. I would love to puppet Transvaal and Orange at some point, although I had a lot of problems. I went over this, actually. I don't need to go over it again. There's Ethiopia. There looks like they have formed. First of all, let's unpause. I apologize. Our money is doing just fine. Goldfields have been depleted in British Columbia. That's unfortunate. Artillery is dirt cheap. Small arms are dirt cheap. The market is crashing. What was I going to check? I was going to check what the size of our investment pool is. It's drained, which makes sense because we keep sucking it dry like as it's being generated. The rich mineral deposits in British Columbia have been drained. Mines are being shuttered, and all the prospectors who moved here in the beginning, I apologize. All the prospectors who moved in are beginning to drift away in search of the next big strike. There's no more gold in them hills, so that's unfortunate. We could give British Columbia minus 50% migration attraction for a couple years, or we could try to trap them there, and not trap them there, but like make it harder for people to move out. Which will reduce the migration attraction penalty, but it will make 5% of laborers in British Columbia become more radical. Let's take a look here. Every time I've gotten this event so far, in all my Victoria 3 campaigns, I've always just gone unfortunate. Let's actually try to look at it. We have 14,000 laborers in British Columbia. And they're all politically inactive. I guess because it's an unincorporated state, maybe? is how I would think. Why? Because otherwise, we have census suffrage, not universal suffrage. So maybe that's also why. Anyway, lots of 2,000 Maltese guys in British Columbia in 1857. So 5% of 14,000 would become more radical, aka what, 700 people? Because 10% is like 1.4 thousand, half of that. I think we can afford 700 more radicals in a country of 24 million people, and I would rather not take the migration attraction hit, because I want all of my states to be like as relatively prosperous as possible. And we are, by the way, incorporating British Columbia right now, because we're never going to get that as a homeland, as far as I understand. And it has an Anglo-Canadian homeland, which means it's in the middle ground where we don't get it in 2 years, but it also doesn't take 20 years because we have the shared European heritage and the Anglophile or Anglophone heritage trait. We are not incorporating Alberta or Saskatchewan yet, even though we could, because they would also take 5 years. Same with New Mexico, I believe, because it has Mexican, which is also European heritage. That could take 5 years, so I'm going to wait until we get all of these, because I think these will go down to 2 years once we grab Colorado and New Mexico. And then I don't know, we should probably, if we're planning on conquering all of Mexico, we should just take as much as possible. Like, I'm not going to just take Colorado and Mexico, or Utah. I'm probably going to try to take, like, Baja California, Rio Grande, maybe Chihuahua, and Sonora if I can stretch it, but okay. Couple things. We have dynamite, that's huge for our mining industry, and our chemical plants, and our munition plants. We have restricted child labor, which allows us to invest more in education. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And increases the mortality of farmers, laborers, and peasants. Unfortunate, but dependents now have extra income. How does... That doesn't make any sense. That must be working, like, stepping down from what it was before, right? Yeah, so this gave... Yeah, okay, so sometimes it's like a... There's another example, if I can... I think, Anarchy? Yeah. It gives you plus 10 legitimacy, and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. But then you see it's stepping down each step. So this is 30 legitimacy, 25 legitimacy, 20 legitimacy, 15... Or these are both 20. This is 22. This is 20. And then it steps down to 10. It's the same thing over here in the child labor. It's plus 30%, because basically dependent income is anyone who is not like a working adult, a franchised adult in this game. So at the beginning of the game in most countries, that would be children, women, disabled, like military veterans, elderly people, anyone who can't work a job normally. But because we had child labor allowed, dependents were getting plus 30% extra income because there were some kids working. We have restricted child labor, which means less kids are working. So now instead of getting dependents getting plus 30% of income, they're only getting plus 15%. And if we pass compulsory primary school, they will not get any income bonus. But that's still good because that means people are getting more educated and more qualified to do the jobs. And also the plus 2, when I said this is bad, it's because I didn't realize what was going on here. So yeah, this is plus 2% mortality of farmers, laborers, and peasants, but it's actually stepped down from 5%. And this one includes machinists as well, because you have kids working in these jobs, and it's causing issues. So now you have less kids working, mortality goes down, and then it goes away completely when you require elementary school. Over here, we could go for electrical generation. Steel railway cars is going to finish on its own. We could try to make sure our military stays modern. We could get ironclad, which looks like it's going to finish pretty soon anyway. We could increase our port capacity, greatly increase the number of convoys we have, but I don't think that's really an issue at the moment. I don't know what happens to my brain when I'm speaking, man. My tongue just twists itself in knots. Our artillery and small arms are already dirt cheap, so there's not really any reason to increase their capacity at the moment. Conscription is not really something I'm interested in doing ever. War exhaustion from casualties, I don't think that's going to be an issue at the moment. Field hospitals, we're not really interested in doing that at the moment either. Max construction sector level, probably don't have to worry about that because we're going to be spreading it out. Camera would give us some prestige. Socialism, new max workplace safety institution, more bureaucracy, more influence, more social security. We're not going down the anarchist path. Actually, yes, civilizing. Whoa! Why can't I speak English? Civilizing mission. That will allow us to get closer to malaria prevention, which is what we really want. So tell me what you want, what you really want. I want malaria prevention. Let's unpause. Got high tensions with all these native areas. It's just the way she goes. Let's take a look at some no potential allies. This screen, last episode, or a couple episodes ago, I was complaining about all of the notification systems. Allow me to now complain about these screens. These don't, well, rivalry is not a good example, because that's a unilateral decision. First of all, we have the trade unions have expressed their concern about the government decisions clearly favoring the interests of the industrialists. I mean, they are, because I do. The industrialists are very happy. The trade unions are very happy. I don't want to reduce your political strength, so I'm just going to swap interests for a few years. Rivalry is not a good example because it is a unilateral decision. But let's look at something like, we don't even have options here. A protectorate. This will be a good example. So you would think, like, using the diplomacy macro screen from, like, EU4, which is, I think, is one of the best things in EU4, that when you see all of these countries, the green countries, we could make our protectorate. That's not the case. Those are just people we're allowed, we can ask. We have the option to ask if they want to be our protectorate. But pretty much none of them are going to say yes. And as far as I know, there is no way to pull up a screen of just people who say yes. And this is very frustrating when it comes to making customs unions, defensive pacts, and alliances, which are all very difficult to pull off. And you pull up these screens and you'll have a list of like 10 countries and you're like, oh sweet, I can get an alliance. And literally all of them say no, or it'll be like one random country in Uganda, modern day Uganda, that you're like, why would I ever want to be in an alliance with you? I have the second biggest GDP in the world. There's like 1 billion people in my country. That doesn't make any sense. So this screen, I feel like this has to be a bug. Like this, I can't imagine they were like, yeah, this shit bangs. Ship it. We could see if there's anyone whose debt we could take on. A lot of people will probably say no to this, at least large countries, because it's bad, because you give me an obligation. Maybe some of the smaller countries would, but I don't really care. I really want to get some people in our customs union, though. How close? Well, Mexico, you're not going to exist, so there's no point in getting you in here. Let's start improving our relations with the big South American boys. Let's also start improving our relations. We have all this extra influence that I haven't been using because I'm dumb. Let's improve with France and Great Britain as well. Great Britain is quite upset with me, as is Peru, Bolivia. Another thing I miss is from other Paradox games like EU4 and whatnot. They show you why your relations are poor. This doesn't really show you anything. It just says, because relations are kind of, they work differently in this game a little bit. They have a California cyclone. I don't think hurricanes really hit California very often, do they? They hit over here, and then they hit over here. It's the same way like they don't hit Europe. Hurricanes move west for whatever reason. I guess because the spin of the Earth and the centrifugal force and stuff, it like pulls it west while the jet stream moves east. Anyway, apparently a cyclone has hit the state of California from the sea, tearing through homes and people alike. It destroyed our home, wrecked my fishing boat. My family might be safe now, but how am I going to feed them? California can get 25% devastation, or we can pay $10,000 a week for 5 years and only get 20 or 10% devastation. If this were a smaller state, I would probably just say tank the devastation. For California, although they're not what they will be yet, they are the jewel of North America in many ways. Resource-wise, their population is exploding. Weren't they at like 200 or 300K last episode when we checked after the war? That's crazy. Yeah, we're gonna pamper Daddy's little baby over there. And all right, sorry, my dog was making some noise. I wanted to make sure that everything was good, but it is. We're gonna unpause. Now we do need to start to get our economy a little bit more under control. A lot of this is okay, not a lot of it. Like a third of our expenses right now are temporary expenses, but it's going to last 5 years. What did we just unlock? Oh, steel railway cars, which gives us. Oh, that also reminds me. God, there's so much happening in this game. I never looked at the dynamite. Anyway, tanker cars for oil rigs, which isn't really a thing right now, but steel passenger cars for our railways, we could pull up. I don't think that's going to be necessary, because it will take up more infrastructure but produce more transportation. Transportation is already cheap. It would consume a lot more steel, and it would make transportation like prohibitively cheap for some of these because railways are government industries. So we want it to not just lose money hand over fist, ideally. We will have you be line infantry, cannon artillery. Now let's look at our mines here. I would like you to start using dynamite. This will make explosives really expensive, but... Okay, we don't really need more lead. And we don't really need more sulfur. But gold, hell yeah. We can always use more gold. And, iron, we could probably always use more iron. It'll make iron super cheap, but I'm honestly fine with that because we're paying for iron to build our buildings. And coal, no, not yet. Another thing I'm not sure about, I think I briefly mentioned this a couple episodes ago, like things like rail transportation and slaughterhouses. I don't know that it's actually good to use these if you are a large country with a ton of excess population, because they cost jobs. Oh wait, maybe not slaughterhouses. Never mind. Slaughterhouses just cost tools. But rail transportation definitely costs jobs. You see, we would gain 24,000 jobs across the country if we switch back to road carts, and we would not produce any less coal. We would use less transportation, which would drive down the price of transportation. But like, we're never going to run out of people in this country. We have so many people. So why are we automating? Unless the business is unprofitable. Of course, then I understand. If you have an unprofitable business, you can pay labor less. Then sure. But if the business is making money and we have plenty of people, doesn't it make sense to just never automate? I'm torn because I want to progress and use technology and stuff, but I'm also I think we should just never automate. We should probably start switching things to publicly traded companies. I'm going to go ahead and do that for everything. I'm also going to unpause. Actually, before I finish this, I want to look at I want to make sure you're using, or making as much explosives as possible. It's going to rapidly or dramatically increase our coal and sulfur output, which is good because now that gives us the excuse to ramp up coal and sulfur production by using dynamite, which is going to just generate more more demand for explosives, which is just going to generate more demand for coal and sulfur. It's a beautiful Ouroboros. Some of these you can't make publicly traded until you get later technologies. Here, okay. We are building. I realized these I queued pre-episode. By the way, we are 24 minutes in, so I got to keep an eye on that. We didn't have any art academies in the whole country, so I'm just adding some in our most populous areas in California, which is also now becoming one of our most populous areas. A lot of these we won't have options on because of our laws. No. I don't want to unpause right now because, I guess it wouldn't hurt. It's just going to make some of this slightly less efficient, but who cares? You have merchant guilds on the gold mines. Sure. But so what this does is this allows people to buy shares of companies. Usually it's companies they work for, which creates more capitalists, which allows people to invest, more people to invest in the investment pool, and also allows more people to be taxed using dividend tax versus income tax, which right now we have per capita taxation, which means dividend tax are cheaper, so it's actually bad for us right now. But once we move to proportional taxation, we will be taxing. A large number of English people have been migrating to Senegal. Now that's something you don't see every day. Once we get proportional taxation, we will start to make more money. Now, we're probably going to lose money right now while all of these industries kind of shift things over and things are not fully efficient yet. But over time, it will be good. Trust me. Let's look at our chemical industries. Make sure because I think we're probably going to need to dramatically increase production because, well, explosives, I mean, they are expensive, but they're not as expensive as I thought they were. So we'll bump you both up by 2 more. And let's also just throw these up to the top. You see, we just went plus 60k. Now that could be because of our investment pool, but you know that all the money spends the same. I'm not going to complain about where it's coming from. We have a diplomatic play, by the way. El Salvador is in a civil war, and Mexico is supporting regular El Salvador against a peasant revolt. You're a republic. You are also a republic. I'm going to declare neutrality. Just because Mexico's involved, I kind of want to like get involved on the opposite side just to fuck with them. We wouldn't be able to get anything unless El Salvador offered us something, which is it's not gonna happen. Although I could say like here, I'm leaning towards you. Offer me war reps or something against Mexico, and I'll join you. But we should have done this sooner. They only have 10 days to do it. The devs did say they're looking into adding an option to offer the AI or like offer to help the AI in exchange for something, because right now you just have to rely on the AI asking you for help and offering you something. Or you can just join them for free, which, you know, sometimes that makes sense. All these, I mean, that's us. Athabascan, that's like the Alaska culture, right? Yeah. We have a gold rush in Arizona. Arizona could get 125% migration attraction or 75% but extra throughput for gold fields. Well, gold fields are finite, right? Whereas gold mines, at least in my experience so far, are not finite. So I don't really want to... If you increase the throughput of gold fields, won't that just deplete them faster? I'd rather just get more people here. The dream. The story has been making the rounds about a miner who struck it rich and became the wealthiest man in his town. People in Arizona are beginning to live beyond their means, convinced they'll all become rich soon enough. It can't be that harming. Arizona gets +2 standard of living, or all it is gold does not glitter. Arizona gets +1 standard of living and +10% radicals from standard of living decreases. Shouldn't this be the one that like causes negative? Because right now I'm like, why wouldn't I just take this? A donation of knowledge. Hazen Norcross. Well, he's a very modern-looking man outside of the top hat and the clothes, but like his face, I feel like you could see him walking down the street today. He's an industrialist, and he wants to donate a university in Tennessee. Basically, our version of Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is dead. Construction costs have dipped a little bit. Iron is still very... it's not expensive, we're just buying so much of it. Let's look at the cost, by the way. So, we have a ton of coffee and tea plantations in the queue in Oceania and a little bit in Africa, but it's going to take a while to get to it. We are building a lot of gold mines right now, which should increase our minting a little bit. A lot of Germans are moving to to Nebraska. Cool. Motors are expensive. When I checked on these earlier, they weren't that expensive, but I guess things have changed. Yeah. So where are we going to add our other motor industry? I kind of want to spread the love a little bit. We could do it in... let's let the South German people moving to Nebraska work on some motors. We gotta like get some more construction, even though this is gonna be expensive, just because it's taking so long to build this stuff. Here we go. I'll put 2 of you up there. This is risky because, you know, we're kind of on that teetering point where, like, our economy is fine right now. It's okay that we're not, like, making money. But if we let it go too long, or if our expenses creep up without our income creeping up along with it, then all of a sudden, you know, we're losing 40, 50K a week, and we're 12, 14, 15 million dollars in debt. It starts to add up, and you start to creep up on that credit limit. So the UK has taken Austrian war reps, but nothing else. They did not subjugate Hindustan. I did not know that war was going on, but Kansas is attracting Yoruba people. I'm so scared about the late game lag. Ooh, you're finally colonizing here. Honestly, I don't know that I've ever seen Canada do that in any of my games. Usually that hole is there in Idaho forever. I was planning on fixing it, obviously, but I'm surprised that Canada got around to it. They do have a port. You should just honestly max out your port. You're going to have so many people. You're already up to 600K. You're growing so fast. We have a duel. Walter Ladson from the Intelligentsia has challenged Jesse Vincent from the Rolfo to a duel to the death. We could ban dueling forever, which would upset the Southern Planters but help the Intelligentsia. I have never not let them fight. I'm actually going to ban dueling, just because I don't want a good politician later in the game to die because of a duel. That would be very annoying. I don't really care about either of those guys. We are at 32 minutes. This is a bit of a minutia-filled episode. We were kind of grinding through the weeds a little bit. We should probably check on Hawaii. Should we not? The problem is our infamy is still quite high. One of these gives... Yeah, actually a lot of... influence surplus gives excess infamy decay. So I should probably, like... Zulu, we're good. Brazil, we're good. France, we're good. Alright, so yeah, now we're getting plus 25% infamy decay. So we're decaying 0.1 a week, basically 1 every 2.5 months. So that'll take us 10 years? No, that can't be right. I think my math's off. Let me just pull up my calculator. 35.2 divided by 0.12 is basically going to be